I want you to imagine yourself walking home. People start to tell you about a mysterious person they met. They say that you should go looking for them, but they seem like someone you would want to meet. So you go, and you find them, and when they turn around, it's you. This may sound like a setup for a horror movie, but really it's about Pokemon. After beating the main story of the second generation of Pokemon, players are able to challenge Red, the playable character from the first generation of games. He's completely mute. It seems to just be a reference to him being a silent player avatar in the original games, but as he's continued to appear in future titles, it's gone from a cute reference to his defining trait, and it just makes me wonder, is it worth bringing back a player avatar if it means giving them a character that isn't how people played them? I know that might be a confusing question, so let me explain. In Red's debut games, you could name him whatever you want. You could make any team you want with the game's 151 Pokemon, so it's almost impossible for any two players to have the same experience. And the Pokemon series really attempts to make you connect with and care for the creatures you catch. So is it really worth invalidating those experiences and connections to remove the roleplay from the role-playing game just to have a cool final boss? For most people, it seems to be, and it makes sense. Pokemon isn't really known for its in-depth themes or characters. Most people playing just want to have a fun time. But it's still weird, isn't it? Video game sequels can be a difficult tightrope to walk sometimes. A lot of games could take hundreds of hours to fully complete, but have main stories that are significantly shorter to finish. How do you account for players who just wanted to see the ending and players who completed every side quest, met every character, and finished everything that the game has to offer? A lot of games err on the side of caution and adopt an episodic approach. As an example, you can play almost any Zelda game in any order, and even if there are references to past titles, they're all mostly self-contained, with most games even following unique versions of the characters. Even direct sequels like Majora's Mask or Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link can be enjoyed just as much if you never played Ocarina of Time or the original Legend of Zelda. Of course, there are exceptions. Most recently, when it released, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was probably the most open game in the Zelda series, allowing the player to do almost everything in the game in any order they want. After beating the tutorial, there's technically nothing stopping you from running directly to the final boss. It makes for a fun game, but it's an odd choice for a sequel set in the same world. Tears of the Kingdom was sold on the idea of improving one of Breath of the Wild's main weaknesses, its story. But, in my opinion, Breath of the Wild's story was a feature of the game's formula, not a bug. The game's plot may have been lackluster and left something to be desired, but that's because players would make their own stories. Trying to build a satisfying narrative on top of that is nearly impossible. A good example is Tarrey Town, one of Breath of the Wild's most memorable side quests. It follows Link as he tries to help an NPC named Hudson build a brand new town from the ground up. The developers of Tears of the Kingdom wanted to include Tarrey Town because it is a very popular part of Breath of the Wild, but they had to account for people who had never seen it before, who never even knew that that quest existed. The solution they found works, but it's a bit awkward, with NPCs just sort of ignoring the fact that Link was vital to building the town, and hurting the impact of one of the better stories that Breath of the Wild did try to tell. Obviously, not all games follow this episodic format. Some games face criticism for being too connected to their previous titles, making it difficult for newcomers to get into the series. It's a pretty common criticism of the Kingdom Hearts series, and this is where I make a joke about how the lore is convoluted and no one understands it.
Me? I'm already half Xehanort.
That's nuts!
There's no perfect way to make a sequel to a game, It's a very complicated issue with the medium, especially because there are so many different types of games. Something like Pac-Man doesn't need a continuous story, but other games might warrant that. And as games and the stories they want to tell become more complex, I think having more continuity between titles is something that people should try to become more comfortable with. I personally really enjoy when games have an overarching narrative throughout a series. I think it's, how everything else does it. And it's confusing that game audiences are so hostile towards it. At least to me. I recorded my own gameplay for the last video. I had to go back to using other people's gameplay this time because I didn't want to buy a capture card for my Nintendo Switch. But this is like one of the topics that I wanted to cover since I started this channel. It has been sitting in my mind for years at this point. Just like the red thing, the red in gold and silver thing is so weird to me because he's the main character of the first games, and he has an Espeon in his team, which is a Pokemon you couldn't get in the first games. And so it truly just doesn't represent the players at all. And I just think that's so interesting that they would bring back a player character in a way that doesn't represent players. And I get it for like a Game Boy game. You couldn't really read the save file to tell what the person's team was when they beat the game or something like that. But it's interesting to see how games handle that. I could ramble about this forever, but I don't have anything else written down right now. But it's an interesting topic that I don't really see get discussed much, and I just wanted to, give my 2 cents on it. I have no idea what the next episode is going to be. Bye!